All right, back to the fuel pump again. I think I've got a few ideas about what needs to go on. There's a restriction in the end of the fuel pump. Let me show you. The outlet there looks like it's like it's pinched down so it'll get past an O-ring or something, but it's a little bit of a restriction. Same thing on the return line. So my plan is to cut these off, and then I've got these fittings to adapt to -6 JIC fittings, and these were like the cheapest. They're NPT to -6 JIC. Then I can connect this and run a push lock hose up to the engine and back, but I figured I'd drill this hole out so that it fits perfect on here, and then solder it on. So here's some of my tools I'm going to use today, and let's see how it goes. The ends come off pretty square. They need a little bit of cleanup. So I'll get that done and get back to you. So the goal here isn't to go all the way through, just to get down part way so that the pipe will butt in there. Hold it nice and square with a small gap so that the solder will wick in like plumbing. Household plumbing is only like 60 psi, so an LS motor's fuel regulator is 58 psi, so it should work. Perfect. This one I'm going to have to drill out twice. Smaller size and up to the bigger size. I only have 2 drill bits that are even close, so hopefully they happen to be the right size. Wow, this is a dull bit. This hole has to be perfect enough. It's kind of tight. But I've got a good lip around there where I can fill with solder, so I think it's going to work. When you solder, you want to get a good amount of flux on the parts you want to join together. And not too much on the parts that you don't want to get, because this stuff will smoke and burn and leave a bunch of crust. It's going to happen anyway, but I'll do my best. And the other trick is to use a good amount of heat. I've got this MAP gas torch, which is Probably not ideal for soldering, but it seems to work pretty good for me when I'm doing repairs on my water heater or whatever. You put your heat into the heavy part more than the thin part, so more in the fitting and less on the tube. That's probably more heat and solder than you'd ever want. I dripped off a big puddle, but oh well, it should seal. I'll have to check it by blowing some air on one side and see if it makes bubbles underwater. Again, get a good amount of flux on here. This piece doesn't seat like the other one, but hopefully the solder is good enough to hold it. Bummer, that doesn't look like it worked at all. And I made a big mess of this one down below. That looks like your classic cold joint. That's not good, but I'll have to do some pressure testing and see if it breaks. There you go. What have we learned? Not much. I was told to TIG weld these on and then it would be a guaranteed fit and everything would be sturdy and not fall apart under vibration. But I went ahead and did this anyway and burned off the galvanized and it stinks and I don't know if it's going to hold. I haven't pressure tested it yet. I don't know if I'm going to. It's pretty cold outdoors right now. I guess back to the drawing board and thinking some more. Have a good one. Alright, so I said I didn't learn anything, but after thinking about it, you always got to give yourself a night to sleep on these things. There is a problem here. If you look at this fitting right here, that had a good fit. When I drilled out the back side of this fitting, it slipped over real nice. And so when I like did the solder, it just all wicked right in on its own, which is how it's supposed to go. This one, I didn't have the right size drill, so I did the best I could, just kind of jammed it together. The solder didn't wick at all, and I just kind of put these cold blobs of solder on, hoping it would seal. Later on, I thought, if I'm getting some bending motion from my fuel lines and the weight of them and bouncing around and, you know, getting airborne doing Dukes of Hazzard stuff, this could break open, and that's full pressure, full flow fuel spraying out under the car. So I decided I don't like that. I'm going to take this back off. I got a new fitting. Went back to the Parker store. There it is. So in the time I've been screwing around with this, it looks like Sloppy Mechanics has already pulled apart the Don't BS Me build and swapped cylinder heads. And he's got a newborn kid, so I don't know what my problem is. I'm just slow at this. We'll get back to it. So this ought to be the solution to my drill bit problem. I got a 115 piece Harbor Freight set. So it should be all good to go. Let's get underway. Now to get it cleaned up. Awesome. That worked a lot better this time. Just having a good fitment made it go so quick I didn't even have to get it hot and turn it all black like I did to that one. So I'll put the rest of the filter together, and I have to figure out how to run my 10 gauge wires for the pump through that hole. I guess that'll be another episode. Had trouble with the batteries on the both the camera and on the drill. Nobody likes the cold weather today. Anyway, thanks for watching.